Okay, today let's see to solve part B questions. The first question, the manual informs us that the blood pressure monitor, and they have given three options and you have the paragraph. When you have like informs us, tells us, suggests us, which means reading for just question. So reading for just like taking a quick glance to derive the main message of this paragraph that the writer or author means, just like the skimming what we do in part A. Now if you see option A, you have like likely to interfere with what? The operation of other medical equipment. The other one is may not work correctly with close proximity, should be considered safe. So I need to check the paragraph, and after deriving the main message I will eliminate the option which doesn't suit. Okay, so with the increased use of portable electronic devices, medical equipment may be susceptible to electromagnetic interference. So here they have given like may be susceptible, but here it is likely to interfere. Likely to interfere means 90% there are chances, but maybe means it's maybe there are less chances. So this option is ruled out. This may result in incorrect operation of the medical device and create a potentially unsafe situation. Okay, but it is given like it may result in unsafe situation, but if you see this should be considered safe to use in all hospital environments. It is not all. In order to regulate the requirements for EMC with the aim of preventing unsafe product situation, so they are trying to regulate the requirements, and the standard is defining here defines the level of immunity to electromagnetic interferences as well as maximum level of electromagnetic emissions of medical devices. So they are creating some standards that helps in reducing the interferences. This medical device conforms to EN 60601 some number for both immunity and emissions. So they said like for both immunity as well as emissions. Nevertheless, when they say like nevertheless, it is like something opposite to this. Care should be taken to avoid the use of monitor within 7 meters. So they are telling like, however, whatever the standard is implemented, there should be a care taken in order to avoid the use of monitor within 7 meter is what the close proximity they mean of cell phones or other devices generating strong electrical or electromagnetic fields. So this is given here. May not work correctly. Care should be taken to avoid the use of monitor. So we should take care. Why? Because there may be chances of interference and it may not work. In close proximity. In close proximity is what given like within 7 meters to some other devices of cell phone or other devices. So this is what your answer is. Should be considered safe to use in all hospital environments. It's not all hospital environments. They have already stated like may result in unsafe situation. So this is not your answer. So the first option is ruled out because of the word likely to interfere, may be susceptible, and should be considered safe. There are possibility of unsafe situation also, and may not work correctly in close proximity, which is given here like care should be taken to avoid the use of monitor within 7 meters. Now the next question is, the notice is giving information about, again the information about. So I will consider this as reading for just. So you have to take a glance to derive the main message. Now they have given the options like ways of checking what you are checking, whether it is placed correctly or not, how to use NG tubes, that is authorized. So it is about authorized. Which staff should perform NG tube placement. So which staff. So I have like ways of checking or authorized or which staff should perform. So let me read this paragraph, get my idea, and I'll answer. Displacement of NG tubes can have serious implication if undetected. Incorrectly positioned tubes leave patient vulnerable to the risk of regurgitation and respiratory aspiration. So it is about incorrectly positioned tubes and there are some risk. That's it. It is crucial to differentiate between gastric and respiratory placement on initial insertion to prevent potentially fatal, again the complication. Now from this line to here they are talking about the risk involved, but they didn't state about the ways of checking. Okay, insertion and care of an NG tube should therefore only be carried out by a registered doctor or nurse who has undergone theoretical and practical training. So who should perform practical training and is deemed competent or is supervised by someone competent, or it should be supervised by someone competent. Then they are telling like assistant practitioners and other unregistered staff must never insert. So again they are giving some direction that who should not insert. So from here to here they are talking about who should perform. So the first one, incorrect position and the risk. The second two lines stating that who should perform. So the first one, placing correctly or not, is there, but ways of checking they didn't provide. So this is wrong. It is not given. And the other one, which staff should perform NG2 placement, it is given. Here you see the next question. What must all staff involved in the transfusion process do? So what the staff involved in the transfusion should do. So it is like reading for detail, that is specific information, right? So there are some functional verbs like whether they have to check their existing training is still valid, or attend a course, or read a document that explain changes in policy. So whether they have to check or attend or to read. So I will check like where all staff involved in transfusion process the word is mentioned. So here I could see like all staff involved in the transfusion process must be competency assessed. So which is the word to say check. But there is one more word I have to confirm like whether it is still valid or no, the existing training. To ensure the safe administration, okay, all staff must be aware of their responsibility in line with professional standard. So they should aware, but it still didn't provide the answer of still valid. Staff must ensure that if they take any part in, so again this is involved in, okay, take part in the transfusion process, their competency assessment is updated every 3 years. This is what they are telling like still valid. So the answer A is right. Next, still there is like attend a course to learn about new procedures. All staffs are responsible for ensuring that they attend mandatory training. Okay, it is given, but it is not about those who involved in the transfusion procedure should learn the new procedure. It is about checking their competency, whether it is updated every 3 years or not. Relevant training courses are clearly identified in appendix 1. That's it. So my specific information, all staff involved in the transfusion process, it's given here. It should be checked. Yes, checked. Then is it still valid or not, should be updated every 3 years. So it's given. So this is not the right answer, it's partial, and this is also not the right answer. It's not given. Okay. The next question, the guidelines establish that the healthcare professionals should. So it's about the healthcare professionals should. So I'm looking for the specific information. Here they have given the functional verbs like aim, evaluate, respect. Aim to make patient fully aware. So are they making patient fully aware of their right? Or evaluate the need of chapter 1 on a case by case basis. Okay. Respect the wishes of the patient above all else. So it is important than anything else. So now I will look for the involvement of healthcare professional. There is one here, one here. Okay, now let me read. It is often a question, so when they start with it is, I will take another line into the consideration. A patient may specifically request a chaperone, or in certain circumstances may nominate one. So a patient has a chance to request one, or in certain circumstances he can nominate, but it will not always be the case that a chaperone is required. So it is not always be the case. Okay, it is often a question. So it is questionable of using professional judgment to assess an individual situation. So they are using some professional judgment which may be the healthcare professional assess individual situation whether the chaperone is required or not. If a chaperone is offered or declined, so there is a chances of declining. Okay, so respect the wishes of the patient above all else is not possible, because here they already said like there is a possibility of declining. Okay, so this is not the answer. Evaluate the need of chaperone on a case by case basis. It is given like assess, evaluate. Okay, case by case basis is given like based on individual situation. So this is right. Aim to make patient fully aware. Let me check whether it is given or not. Should only be present for the physical examination, should be in a position to see what healthcare professional undertaking the examination or investigation is doing. The healthcare professional should wait until the chaperone has left. So there is nowhere given like the patient should be they are aiming to make patient fully aware of their right, about their right, and making awareness they have been provided. So it should be B. Next, the guidelines require those undertaking a clinical medication review. So those undertaking clinical medication review. Again, specific information, you have functional verbs like involve, consider, recommend. Involve what? Patient in their decision. Consider what? Cost. Recommend other services, which is alternative. Okay, so I have to check whether it is involving patient, or considering the cost, or recommend other services. Now, guidelines require those undertaking a clinical medication review. Okay, here the minimum standard is a treatment review of medicines with a full notes, but not necessarily with a patient present. They said like minimum standard, okay, not the maximum. Minimum standard is a treatment review of medicines with the full notes. So they have to provide the full notes, but not necessarily with patient present. When they add however, which means they are going to say something opposite to this. The guidelines go on to say that, so it is adding up like all patients should have the chance to raise question and highlight problems about their medicine. So patient should have an opportunity to raise the question and highlight the problems, and that any changes resulting from the review are agreed with the patient. So they stated like agreed with the patient, so which means patient is involved in their decision. So A is right. Okay, so and those who are undertaking a clinical medication review, here they said like minimum standard is providing full notes. However, the guidelines again adding up, stating that all patients should have an opportunity to have to raise the question and highlight the problem, and any changes resulting from the review are agreed with the patient. So agreed with the patient means involving the patient. So I'm going with A. Consider the cost of any changes in treatments. It's not stated here, but let's see. It also states the GP practices are expected to. It also stated means it is expected minimize waste in prescribing. So lesser waste, engage effectively in prevention of ill health. So prevention, avoid the need of costly treatments by proactively managing patient to recovery through the whole care pathway. So throughout the pathway, consider avoiding the costly treatments. Okay, this is what given. Now involve the patient in their decision, which we have already saw that it should be added. So this is there. Consider the cost of any change in treatments. So any change in the treatments, cost is important, but it is one of the aspect. It should be also considered. Okay, recommend other services as an alternative to medication. So here they said other services, which is not given. This is not given. This is partial, and involve the patient in their decision is important. Okay, which they have stated here, which is the other point should be added up, also states. So here I'm going with this answer that they should rise and highlight the problem, and that should be agreed with the patient. Then consider all these aspects, and this is like a partial answer, and this is your answer, and recommendation is not given. So I'm going with answer A. Last but not least, question number 6, the purpose of this email is to. So when it is purpose, it should be just, but a email or memo question, the subject is important. The note here is advisory email. But if you see the functional verb, the report, explain and remind. So report on the rise. So it is not the when you say advisory email, which means the explanation what you provide. So I feel the answer is B, but let me confirm whether it is the same or no. Report the rise on the complication or explain the background to a change in patient care. Change in patient care. Remind staff about the procedures of administering drugs. So when I say report a rise, let me see, anywhere it is mentioned like a rise. So this reported the incident of respiratory depression among post-surgical patients to an average of 0.5%. Thus, for every 5,000 surgical patients, 25 will experience respiratory depression. So they just stated like there is average 0.5 percentage incidence of respiratory depression, but they never stated like rise or decrease. There are some other numbers here, let me check that also. A retrospective multi-center study of 14,720 cardiopulmonary arrest cases showed that 44% were respiratory related and more than 35% occurred on the general care floor. So here also they stated how the numbers, but they never state like it is more or less or it is raised or declined. They stated 44% is from respiratory care or respiratory related, and more than 35% is from general care floor. That's it. But they never said like it is increased or decreased. So this statement is wrong. Remind staff about the procedures, they haven't mentioned anywhere. So the answer is explain the background, which is stated here. It is therefore recommended that post-operative patient now have continuous monitoring instead of spot checks. So this is change in care. Instead of spot checks, they are now adapting for continuous monitoring. Okay, so the patients now have continuous monitoring instead of spot checks is what? Change in patient care. Okay, so explain the background to a change in patient care is your answer. Hope this helps. If you have any questions, please let me know in your comments. Let me solve it. Okay, thank you so much.